Jodi, Jodi, could you please come to the audio booth?
1, 2. Satish, Ramsaran, and Inshan, if I get both of you all by the 10th, I'd appreciate that greatly. Satish, we ready? Before we get started, if we could just invite everybody, please feel free to come forward, come close to the stage so we could get tonight's proceedings underway. Just feel free to come in and come closer. We're about to begin. Good evening. Thank you for that. And I'd like to say a special thank you before we begin to Inshan Ishmael and the rest of his organization for their hospitality here. If we could give them a round of applause, please. We have a tight schedule tonight. We're doing it between 7 and 9, and we have a lot of information. We have a lot of speakers, and it's going to be fast-paced. We're asking everybody present if you could make your way forward. And I tell you why it's important to the people who are up here speaking. We get feedback from you, and your energy is important to what we do. So if you could please come forward and fill up this space because, as usual, you could come as far forward as you want, my friend. Every time we do this, regardless of how it is set up, it is always a family, it is always a community, and we want everybody to feel at home. Okay? So if we could please, as much as possible, come forward, and starting us off will be Felicia Holder. Felicia.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second leg of the Candlelight movement. For those who would have been or joined us last week outside Woodford Square, Knox Street and Pembroke Street to be exact, you would have been in attendance at the launch of the Candlelight Movement Committee, which myself, Philip Alexander, Candice Barath, Avanelle Hector, Jodi Mohammed, Stephan Reese, Inshan Ishmael, and Ian Allen would have formed part of a committee. Of course, along with the support of some great men and women who are here tonight. But you would have been in attendance to the launch of that committee as well as the national petition, which I know many of you are here to sign tonight, as well as perhaps the takeaway packages. We've been getting hundreds, literally hundreds of calls this week from people asking to get their own packages and have it in their stores and take it around to their communities, etc. But standing here tonight and, watching another crowd of people come to an event that the Candlelight Movement is hosting, I feel a sense of pride, I feel a sense of warmth. When the national anthem plays now, I stand up straight and I sing it with pride, because there's a difference when I sing that song now and when I sing those lines, "Here every creed and race find an equal place." Because what was sparked on the first night and continued on for 9 nights after that, and then for another 20-something odd days, and taking us here tonight, what was sparked was a national unity that I do think I have personally ever felt. And we were united we stand united on a common issue that we all feel, an issue that does not discriminate against race or creed or religion or gender or sexual orientation. It does not discriminate, because we can all at any time fall victim. We have family members who can fall victim. And tonight in the audience, and soon to come, and you will hear from them, we have victims here tonight, we have survivors, we have family members of victims. Not discriminate, particularly crimes against men. And we have seen it in the past years with infamous names. Now Andrea Barrett, her name is literally going to be etched in history. Shannon Banfield, Ashanti Riley, and so many names of women who we stand here tonight on behalf of. So this movement, and I remember looking into the camera. Well, I wasn't aware that I was looking into the camera last week when we were outside Woodford Square. And we were locked outside of Woodford Square, and we were on top of the van, and it was raining. And I remember looking out into the crowd and seeing a sea of candles. And I remember looking into all kinds of faces, old, young, short, tall. It didn't matter. It was just a beautiful cross-section of Trinbagonians. And I remember turning behind me to my colleague, my sister, we call each other sisters, Candice Barath to my right here. I remember turning to her and saying, we started a movement, and she was holding her phone. I didn't realize she was live at the time, but she was live at the time, and I was selling it to her, well, unknowingly to an audience of people that she was broadcasting to. But I meant it, looking out into the faces of you guys, the same faces that I'm looking out at tonight. I felt very proud. My heart, God, I wanted to jump for joy, just seeing, for once, us standing together on an issue and on such an important issue. The fact that we cannot keep up with the amount of requests for petition packages, the fact that people are calling saying, I got the package tonight, but 2 hours later it's completed, I need 1,000 more, that says something on its own. People have been asking me, what does the petition do? What can it do? I said, it shows that you as a citizen, you and every other citizen, you and the 100,000 that we were aiming to get, hopefully now it's going to double and triple and quadruple, that you guys, we, us as a nation have collectively said, enough is enough. We want you to safeguard our women. And if you can't do it, we are going to tell you how. Point 1, 2, 4, 5. These are the 5 ways that we think you can safeguard our women and make life in Trinidad just a little bit easier. We have so much other things to deal with, and we will deal with those things at some point, but we're focusing on this issue here tonight, which is the safety and the protection of our women in society, and the fact that all of us are standing here tonight for that issue and against that issue, the issue of violence and crime and murder of our women. It says a lot, and I want everybody here to give themselves a round of applause, because we are standing up and standing tall and proud on an issue. In my welcome tonight, apart from welcoming you all here tonight, I do want to thank the host of this event, my Candlelight Movement brother, I guess I will call him. A couple of weeks ago, he was not familiar with me, to me, and now, we're part of a growing movement taking this across the country. Today we're in Central, and I'm very happy to be here. But we would not have been here without, our brother, Ishmael, and I want to thank him so very much for opening the Barakah grounds for us tonight, where we are hosting this event. And, guys, I want to also invite you to just have a good time tonight. It's not, people ask me, what is the vibe of this? The vibe of this is just gelling with your fellow Trinbagonian, just mingling, talking, hearing stories, hearing experiences. Like I say, you're going to hear from some people a little bit later on. But more importantly, like I said, standing together on an issue as important as this. So do enjoy the evening's proceedings, and I will be back a little bit later to chat with you some more, right? At this point, I do want to welcome Candice, onto the stage.
Good night, Chaguanas. My name is Candice Barrett, and I feel so happy to be here tonight. Chaguanas is actually my hometown, and it really feels great to bring the Candlelight movement to Chaguanas in such a big way, and to see the amazing support of my brothers and sisters from Chaguanas. So thank you so much for coming. We'll get right into the program. Our first speaker tonight is a young, very energetic, vibrant attorney at law. I know that he practices in the Chaguanas area, and from what I gather, he feels very strongly about what we do, and he wanted to say a few words. So I invite on stage Mr. Richard Jagissa to say a few words tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the coordinators of the Candlelight movement. And thank you, Inshan. Thank you, Mr. Alexander, and so on. Thank you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, for coming out today. I, with a solemn heart, have been asked to come to speak to you. And I say that because every day in our news, we see our sisters, our grandmothers, and our daughters killed and slaughtered by beasts walking like men, by criminals. My brothers and sisters, we have gotten to a point in our society where the burden has fallen on our shoulders to protect those amongst us, to protect our females in society. And I thank them for many things, but tonight I thank them especially for breaking the barriers that divide us and bringing us together, uniting us under this ideology that we must protect the woman in our society. I thank them because in spite of all of this, they've broken down the dividers. They've seen past race and religion, the color of our skin, the texture of our hair. They've gone past all of that, beyond all of that, and unified us as a country behind one single purpose, the purpose of protecting our women. And how have they gone about doing that? Well, they've suggested, and very rightly so, that we petition the parliamentarians for laws to protect women. And one such law, I think, one such law must benefit women in a way where it cannot be that a man who kills his wife because he comes home drunk and he has an argument with her and he beats her, much like any one of the 3 cases that happened in the last 10 days, it cannot be that the police cannot, because of the law, cannot take his guilty plea. Like the case in 2019 in Barakah, that case is still ongoing today. It cannot be that the man says, I did it, I killed her, I got drunk and I beat her and I killed her, but the police cannot take the guilty plea. Instead, the police must assign resources, money, vehicles, police officers to go and investigate. All the time, the criminal, the beast, is out on the street committing more crime. It cannot be that the time and effort and resources that the police ought to spend patrolling your streets, answering your domestic violence calls, they are investigating this crime. And look, I did it. My brothers and sisters, the amendment is very simple. The proposal is very simple. We allow somebody to plead guilty for murder. That way, the 4 to 6 years spent at the magistrate's court, the money, time, and effort and resources, the time off the police officers have to take to go to court for 4 years, better spent dealing with your issues, investigating sexual offenses, rape, incidents with minors, and so on. The time, effort, and energy spent at the High Court, a jury of 9 or 12 of us, wasted time off from work and family, better spent, all by allowing a man to plead guilty for murder. By amending Section 27A of the Preliminary Inquiries Act, that's as simple as it is. And we must be careful. We must allow for different categories of murder, because it is not the same thing for a man who beats his wife in cold blood and kills her. That is not the same murder as the self-defense as a woman who pushes off her rape, the person who's trying to rape her, who pushes him off, and he falls and hits his head and dies of internal bleeding some weeks after. Those are 2 different incidents, and we must separate that. Because the woman in that case ought to be entitled to bail, and the man must stay in jail. And finally, with the money and resources that this amendment would ultimately help save, I suggest that we train officers with a certain degree of empathy and compassion so that those officers in the gender protection unit can deal with victims in a more appropriate manner. That way we remove the stigma of victims going to the police station and the police doesn't want to take the report. They're laughing, they're talking to you through a glass door, the whole station hearing you. We remove that stigma because we assign now a different area of the building where only that woman can go to, only that victim can go, and the person she is speaking to is trained in compassion and empathy. And that way, we get more victims coming forward, and we get more investigations, and we get more convictions, so that you, the woman, you, the victim, can finally have justice in this country. My brothers and sisters, I vow to you today to surrender all of my resources to implement these laws and so much more. I vow my support and my unwavering love to the Candlelight movement and you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and the women of Trinidad and Tobago. I vow and pledge my support to do everything in my power to make sure your tomorrow is safer than your today. I thank you and I love you.
Next, I would like to invite somebody who I only met about a month ago, but in that short month, she has become like a sister to me. Jodi Mohammed, a month ago, I think, was a very different Jodi Mohammed to the person who's about to address you. When I first met her, she was very quiet, but very much interested in what we intended to do. Now I look at her and I see a fire. It's the same person. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Miss Jodi Mohammed, one of my fellow Candlelight movement members.
And good night, everyone. Well, thank you so much, Candice. Well, yes, my name is Jodi Mohammed. Some of you may already know me from radio as well. I've been on radio for the past probably 18 years or so. Yes, I'm counting my age. Like me? Why me? I don't think I'm able to go on stage. People, I a sensitive topic. You know, especially most people don't want to talk about it. But now I feel honored to be part of it. I work on radio, and I mean, I read all these stories every day, and my heart breaks. I'm a sister, I'm a mother, you know, I'm a human being, and we all have feelings inside. And you read these stories, and you feel feeling inside I cannot explain. It's a hurt feeling. And that we are losing and country. Sad. And I made a comment recently to someone, and I said living in Trinidad and Tobago is like being in an abused relationship. And why I say this is because we are stuck here. Who's us? No one's helping us and place to go. So it is like being in an abused relationship, because when you have abused relationship, sometimes, you know, some women, they have nowhere to go, nowhere to turn to. People often say, why do you stay? You should have left. But do you know the person's situation? What if they have kids? They don't have a job. What if they really leave? You know, and this is why I joined this, because I want to help men, and I want to be a voice of Trinidad and Tobago. You know, my stories with you guys as well. And, you know, it's just that on the inside, when you... Andrea, like I said, let me just talk about this. People are always saying that this is because of Andrea we are doing this. No. Andrea, like we all said, was a tipping point for us. And to know that this child had to face this and nothing was done, it is time that things are put in place to protect our women. You mothers know this feeling. Sometimes you may not have a vehicle of your own, and when your kids have to leave the house every single day and take public transportation, you don't sleep. Because you know why? You say good morning, you get up, you make breakfast, you prepare lunch for your kids. You don't even know if they're going to make it home on time. You have to call them. What happens when they don't come home on time? You make reports, and sometimes the police don't even take it on. They say you have to wait 24 hours for a person to go missing. In 24 hours, so much could happen. It takes seconds to kill a life, to kill someone. And this, if it wasn't for social media, like I was telling someone recently, this is how come they found Andrea. Because everyone actually took part in it. You know, they started searching for her. And I, for one, was checking it out. I was checking Facebook every single day, wondering what will happen. They were this part of Trinidad, that part of Trinidad. And they just kept searching. And I was hoping and praying that they found her. And that day, when they said that they found her, I actually sat in the studio and I cried. I cried because I said, I could be the next victim. You could be the next victim. Your sister, your daughter, your neighbor, your mother could be the next victim. And if it is that we don't continue to come together and stand up and fight for what is right, we are not going to see change, because no one is changing anything. And if we have to do this, we can't, like I said it before in my speech, if it is that we just stand up for 7 or 8 days, we are not going to see change. So we have to keep going at this. And we have to keep demanding and putting pressure on the government and the opposition to make sure that we get these laws passed to protect our women in Trinidad. Because some people may not see it as a big deal, or they may say it's just a petition, it's not going to make a difference. If I sign, what is my signature going to do? No, if 100,000 people sign, that is going to make a difference. So if you say that I'm not going to sign, my signature is not going to make a difference. No, every single signature counts. It matters, because this is the only way the government will see that we are serious, and it is time we protect our women and we bring on these better laws. How much more are we going to cry? How much more are we going to live in fear? How do you feel when you walk outside? Every day on radio, I always say, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please be safe when you head outside. Ladies, be careful where you park. Watch your handbag. Hold your kids' hands. Why can't I just say, hope you have a wonderful day today. Enjoy your stroll outside. Why does we can't do that? Why does Trinidad is so unsafe that you cannot go outside? If you go for a walk as a woman, people will turn around and say, oh my goodness, she's crazy. She doesn't want to live. She doesn't like her life. Why do we have to live like that? Why our kids cannot go outside and play and we could be okay with them? We have to keep an eye on them, because you don't know. And these days you can't even trust family members. You can't trust your neighbors. You cannot trust anybody with your kids. You have to be so careful, because sometimes the ones that you trust are the ones that hurt them the most. So you have to be extra careful. I always remind parents, especially as being a mom, please be careful where you send your kids. It doesn't matter if it's family. You have to be very, very careful and always keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on your daughters, your sons. This is not just for your sons, for your daughters. Sorry, for your sons as well. We have to protect our children, and we have to try to make Trinidad and Tobago a safer and better country for every one of us. Trinidad is a beautiful place. You go, if you travel to the States, you go to Canada, you go everywhere. They don't have the kind of freedom we have here. So why does we can't have a safer and better country? And I think that we have to continue to work together. I hope each and every one of you have signed the petition. You send it to your family, you take it to your workplace, and you get those signatures. And if we continue to work together as a country and as a nation, we will get justice. Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here tonight.
Nice. So good evening, Chaguanas, and good evening, Barakah Grungs. Nice, man. Now, before I get started, I know we have the social distancing rules and regulations, but if you could just come forward a bit, all right? I really want the crowd to come forward and engage. All right? All right, stop. Don't walk into the stage. Don't walk into the stage. All right? Don't walk into the stage. So, it is a pleasure to be here in Chaguanas, talking to every one of you on an issue that everybody should have an issue with. Let me put it like that. Hey, nice. I was wondering, yeah. Did I clip on my mic in the studio now? So So, last week, we were in Port of Spain, and I went down memory lane. And I want to do that again tonight, because sometimes you get a message, and then it goes, and you forget. So last week, Friday, when I was speaking in Port of Spain, I brought up names like Akil Chambers. Everybody here supposed to know that name. Nothing ever came out of that. Then I mentioned Sean Luke. And what bothers me with Sean Luke is that when the incident with Sean Luke happened, the entire country was outraged. Alright? The entire country was outraged. We all felt it. We all felt it. And when I do my show on a morning, well, my name is Stephan Reese from Synergy TV Breaking Dawn. The fixing of the mic kind of threw me off. But when I do my show in the morning, I go into the newspaper. And I could not believe that I was reading a headline with Sean Luke and his case still being before the court. and we're 15 years down the road. I brought up names like Kiana Cumberbatch. You all remember Kiana Cumberbatch? They found her at the bottom of a barrel under some clothes.
Yes, yes.
In Maloney. Yeah. Sad. You remember Vidish Suba? Plenty of people can remember Vidish when I mentioned his name in Port of Spain. Vidish Suba was a 13-year-old boy who went next door by his caretaker, Rose Mohammed, when bandits came into the house. Tied up Rose, killed her, and then proceeded to take a knife and cut that 13-year-old boy's neck. And the pathologist said he never had a chance because of the force that the killer used with the blade. It damaged the vertebra. A 13-year-old boy. Somebody could explain to me why somebody would want to kill an innocent 13-year-old child. Because I do have that answer. All right? And there were other names that I mentioned along the way. Asami Nagakia. Queen's Park Savannah, found dead. Carnival Tuesday. Carnival Tuesday. How that happens? Nothing. Nothing can come out of that. Shannon Banfield. Everybody here is gone shopping. You walk into a store and you never come out. Something has to be wrong with that. Something has to be wrong with that. And then in recent times now, Ashanti Riley, and of course, the straw that broke the camel's back, Andrea Barrett. And I am saddened to stand before you tonight knowing that other names have been added to that list since then. The killing in Maruga, and then we had one in South the day before, the murder-suicide. So it continues. And while it continues, what is being done? What is being done? Anybody knows? Nothing. Nothing is being done. But I want to ask a couple questions as I engage you. How many people here are parents? Wow. Nearly everybody here is either a parent or a grandparent. And I'm going to ask you an obvious question now. How many people here have or had a mother? Well, everybody's supposed to raise their hand because that's an obvious question. See, I get people, you see, that they wasn't even sure. You know the significance of that? I was having a conversation 2 weeks ago with a gentleman and he told me, "Say, Stephan, we need to teach young men how to respect women." My reply to him was, "That's the craziest thing I have ever heard." You know why that's the craziest thing? Thank you. It's a natural instinct. Every man has a mother. Every human being comes out of a woman. When I was growing up, you didn't have to teach me to respect my mother. That's a natural thing. So how we end up in this position? That we actually believe we need to teach men how to respect women. That's crazy. The first woman a man knows is his mother. The second woman a man knows is his grandmother. And then he might have a sister or a cousin that is a female. You have to teach that, man. So somewhere along the line we went wrong. And we have failed to correct it. We failed to correct it. So now here we are. Thousands of murders down the road. We've lost children along the way. And as I speak about, I want to mention a particular youth man. A fellow by the name of Jesse Beepan. Jesse Bipan was 16 or 17 years old. He was going to school. He went to school, you know. Now, everybody here, all you know, during lunchtime or break, you know, you and your partners go one take a little line. They went to the side of the school to take a line. Quite have a little hole in the fence. I don't know if his father is here tonight, Shaker, but I know Shaker told me he was coming down tonight. That's Jesse's father. Jesse Bipan, when the bell ring for school to start back, never reached back in school. He never reached back in school. They found him dead in a drain. Dead. He went out there with 3 of his peers. The 3 came back except him. To date, nobody's been held. And Jesse Bipan's father and mother have not gotten closure. Like so many others in Trinidad and Tobago. You think that right? No. That could never be right. That could never be right. Am I to believe, are we to believe here, every one of us, that a 16 or 17-year-old could beat the criminal justice system? That's amazing, eh? A 16 or a 17-year-old, a teenager, could outsmart the police. That's madness. And hear the message behind that. Hear the troubling message behind that. If a 16 or a 17-year-old could beat the system, well, we're going to leave for the experienced campaigners. No, seriously, we're going to leave for them. So we need to fix this now. Now we have a petition before the country right now. But I want to explain the purpose of that petition in the time that I have before it run out. Because anybody who ever watch a live video on Facebook with me, they say, I ain't come to talk for long and then take an hour and a half. So, you must first understand that you have a power that politicians do not have. You hired them. So put it into this context. If you have a company and you are the boss, you are the owner of the company, and you hire a board of directors and the company does not do well, you'll give them a raise? Huh? You'll give them a raise? Of course not. So why have we sat back for so long and just been trampled on? Why? But the first thing we need to do is change our mentality. The 5-day, 7-day period mentality. Alright, that need to change. So on Friday in Port of Spain, they get a little upset stomach now because they see the crowd. But they'll get a heart attack in the morning because I think this crowd bigger or around the same size. But they'll get a heart attack in the morning because that's what we want to give them, you know, hypothetically. Because we want them to understand that although Andrea Barrett funeral gone, we ain't going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're not moving on. We're not going to be distracted. We want a safer Trinidad and Tobago. Anybody else here want that? And it's not a matter of wanting it for yourself, you know. Because remember the first question I asked. How many people here have children? You have to want it for them. Not just for yourself. I don't just want a safer Trinidad and Tobago for me or my family. I want a safer Trinidad and Tobago for you and everybody. I want you to be able to jump into a taxi and you reach home safe and you don't have a worry. You don't have to worry about nothing like back in the old time days. When you're walking home, the neighbor could get you a cocktail on behalf of your parents. If your school closed too, no. If your school closed too dirty, you could get that. And all nice party, the village raising the child. We had to start looking out for each other. But we must demand a better standard of governance and performance. If you cannot perform, exit stage left. I'm serious. For far too long, we put up with mediocrity. It is mediocrity that has us here today, believe it or not. Mediocrity, because we don't understand the power we have collectively. You see, divided they conquer us. Together, we conquer them. So that petition, say it again. Divided, they conquer us. Together, we conquer them. And keep that in the back of your mind when you leave here today. Now that petition is a power document. All you understand what I just tell all you? How many people here ever see 100,000 physical signatures on a petition? You even know what that look like? You think you can fit on this stage? I feel we need a van. Philip, might need a van, eh? And John, I feel we need a van or a truck. I don't know what 100,000 signatures is going to look like, but I can tell you this. At this point, I started to wonder what 200,000 signatures will look like. That's where my mind is. Because you have to understand, the more signatures on that petition is the more power to you. They cannot deny that. And if they do, well, we have a phase 2, not the pan side. We have a different type of phase 2. But if they decide to take God out of the thoughts and ignore the power of the pen that you are executing right now, well, that is a clear indicator of where they stand as it relates to your future. Because when somebody abducts you, rapes you and kills you, you have no future. So, put pen to paper. When you go to work, anybody have a petition package? Or get a petition package? We have petition packages. So when you go to work, tell your friend sign. You go home, tell the neighbor sign. Tell everybody sign. That is the power that is going to change Trinidad and Tobago, and it will be the beginning of a safer Trinidad and Tobago. And the most important thing on that petition is that commission of inquiry into the criminal justice system. I want all of you to understand how important that is. I want all of you to understand how important that is. Justice delayed is justice denied. And in a land with a land where no justice exists, we live in a failed state. So you have to understand what we're calling for there is going to change the whole dynamic of how the criminal elements operate. Because once we get the criminal justice system working, well, it ain't gonna be business as usual for them. I could guarantee you that. Because we have to start demanding consequences to actions. Consequences to actions. When a man will commit a crime and he go in before the court in a week time, and after that week, about 2 more weeks, judgment come in, he thinking twice. He thinking twice. So we had to change that. The other aspects of the petition, and I know they would have mentioned it before, but before I go, I just have to stress on it. The non-lethal weapons. Women need to defend themselves. They need to defend themselves. And don't buy that nonsense, for lack of a different word that I wanted to use, but do not buy that nonsense conversation that it could get into the hands of a criminal. That's the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. As a matter of fact, the only thing I've heard more ridiculous than that is that pepper spray more deadly than a gun. You could believe that? You could believe that? So a man thought that bandits going to run around the place spraying people with pepper spray and robbing them. That ain't gonna happen. But pepper spray provides some sort of defense, some sort of chance, a little window of opportunity for you to get away. That's what we're asking for. The lady in Arima, just 48 hours after Andrea Barrett's funeral, that was abducted, and luckily she had a knife. Luckily she had a knife. So if pepper spray more deadly than a gun, it's a good thing she had a knife. Because the knife saved her life. So don't let them come wrong here with that nonsense talk. That is all talk. That is them buying time to delay you. We will not be delayed any longer. The time for justice is now. The time for a safer Trinidad and Tobago is now, not tomorrow. It is now. And next week, I want to let you all know, where the cameraman? I want to look into the camera. I don't ever look into my camera on TV, you know, but I'll look into somebody else's camera. I want you to know, we're going to be in Arima next week, Friday. We're gonna be in Arima. We come into Arima. What part of Arima? Hollis Avenue. Right outside the bus terminus. Alright? That is in the backyard of Andrea Barrett and Daddy Barrett. And we heading up Arima. So when we come up Arima, we're looking for you to come out in your numbers. Because lest you forget, it's the Arima taxi stand. It's the Arima PH car. And Andrea Barrett was from Arima. The lady that got abducted 48 hours after her funeral, Arima. And just the other day, if you read in the papers, another girl was abducted, Arima. So we come into Arima. We come in the middle of it, in the heart of it, in the lair. And when we reach up there, we walk in with our petitions and we asking you to sign. The whole of Arima is supposed to put the pen, take up the pen and put the signature on these petitions. So people, in the coming weeks, we're going to achieve what nobody has ever done before. And I want you to understand that every one of you that signs that petition, you are part of history. History. That's a nice thing to be part of, eh? So let's do it together. Together. And I love how we're seeing everybody come out tonight. I'm seeing one people under one vibes, on one mission, with one voice. We have one plan, and we're moving forward. I thank you.
Let's hear it for Stephan. And Trinidad and Tobago, let's hear it for us, we the people. Yeah, we at Barakah grounds this evening. Barakah, believe, but at least in the Hebrew it means the place of blessings. And we declare blessings over Trinidad and Tobago because, my God, it's so much, it seems as though there are so many things cursing the land. But as a people, we have come out to say enough is enough. My name is Avanelle Hector Joseph, and I dare to believe that a better day is here. Just like you, just like every mother, some people who are watching on Facebook Live, people who can't come out, but they have feel this thing like, you know, when they thought it was going to die and they held their breaths for the 9 days. But listen to me, whoever in the powers that be that have the authority to bring the change and the transformation that we, the citizens of this blessed republic, are asking for, whoever they may be, the 41 goodly men and women, I would like to remind you today to keep looking, keep listening. There's a groundswell. Do not ignore what we are trying to say to you today. The citizens of this country, we have cried, we have quarreled, some people have cussed, people have done all types of things, but we are saying today, we are coming together as one people to make a very strong, to send a very definitive message that enough is enough. I don't know about you. I don't know about you. But I fell up of the missing girls, missing boys stories on Facebook in Alert TT. It have a whole set of profiles on social media now just to bring us to this reality in remembrance of them, News Alert, TT Alert, all kinds of things. And if we as a people, the biggest mistakes we could get to is the place where we just see these things like statistics. Remember when we used to have about 100, that's a long time. I'll be 50 in the next about 3 days. But I lived long enough from 1981 where they used to have less than 100 deaths. And then it went to 200, and then we started counting. Then it went to 300. Then it went to 400. And then we start to argue things like if we are number 1 in the world, we are number 3, if we see kidnapping capital, and all of these things that are really inconsequential because we have embraced this as, we talking new normal, we have embraced a new normal long time. We have embraced the normal that is okay for the girl, I think was Ria, who was the hairdresser, to drop her children off to school and just disappear. We have embraced a normal that Dollar Mark and Carnage, when she dealing with one son dead in the morning, by the time she processing that, and next son dead in the evening, and they throw that next one body up in a repo, or how many people missing, or Juliet Tam from since 1985, that has been our normal. So, you know, we don't really put a demand on those that we have entrusted to deal with these matters, because we get accustomed to it. Everybody here, I believe, either have lost a loved one, know their neighbor who lost a loved one, or a co-worker, or a friend in church, or a business partner, or somebody. We have all been affected. But what we've had to do is that we've had to create coping mechanisms. The psychologist will tell you that there is something called the primary trauma, I believe. I only have a secondary education, so forgive me if I have it wrong. But there is the initial trauma that happens to the first set of people who are actually, so for example, the situation of, say, Ashanti or Miss Neil Roberts' girl who missing, probably you don't even know her name since last year, their immediate family is dealing with that first level of trauma. But there is secondary trauma that, unless you're mad in your head and you are a citizen in this blessed country, you, my dear brother and sister, regardless if you're Syrian, you're Indian, you're African, we are dealing with secondary trauma because you are living in a space where every Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every God send day in the morning, in the afternoon, and evening, you're hearing some kind of crazy story. And maybe you have accepted it as the norm because that's how you have to cope with it. We either freeze, we flight, or we fight, but we're fighting today, right? There are different responses. We have been frozen, right? Some take a plane so they can freeze. We ain't do nothing. It happened to Asami. We freeze, oh God, we cry. It happened to Ashanti. We move a little bit. Some people took flight, and I ain't vexed with them. They jump on a plane, they go. But the psychologists say freeze, flight, or fight. And that is what we're here today to do in a very peaceful manner. To fight with our fingers, to sign, to come out, to say to Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, to say to Dr. Keith Rowley, with all due respect, we the citizens, we need you to act. Because we tired saying sleep in peace, we tired saying rest in peace, we tired saying God too soon, oh God, we are tired. And so I want you, when you leave this grounds, this ain't no 9-day things, people. If we had to walk from Cedrus, I said it last week, we have to see that what we want is worth fighting for. Nothing that is worth gotten is received easily. You know, I go to Jamaica, I go to Haiti, I go to Africa, I go to India, I see a different pastor, you know. We got our independence with Dr. Capildale and Dr. Williams, they negotiate who went Marlborough House, and you know, they write a piece of paper and we got our independence. But when you bounce up them Haitians, they put their sweat and their blood to get their independence. It is going to take some discomfort. We might have to shut our businesses down. And yes, it will cost us some money, but if you lose your life, you're going to lose all that you have in your children, have you? So there is a price that we have to be willing to pay so that we could see a better day. My brothers, my sisters, we have children, we have grandchildren, we have nieces, we have nephews. Everybody is making history. Some will make history for inaction. But I want to say to us today, as we stand in what I believe is this red letter moment in the history of this nation, when it is written, what did you do if you live to see your grandchildren and they say Nana or whatever, or Mama or Granny or Papa? What did you do to present that slippery slope that was taking place in this nation? You could say it might not have seemed much, but I was there. I was at the Woodford Square. I was at Barakah grounds. I will be at Arima. I will be at Extra Foods. I will be wherever I am, so that my voice will be counted, so that I will make a stand for a better Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, the future is depending on you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless Trinidad and Tobago.
I begin in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. First thing, before I start, I would just like to ask people to please make sure that you have on your mask, because I see we have officers patrolling the area and we don't want to create any problems. I don't know where to start, because after Avanelle speaks, you can't be that. Avanelle is always competition for me. When we were sending things to Haiti, Avanelle was there. We decided to go Dominica. We got a private plane when I landed. Who could I see in Dominica? Avanelle. Alai Avanelle? As most of you know, I am normally very fiery, sometimes too passionate. But tonight, what else can I say? Tonight, what else could I add? Except that I am frustrated. Monday, I will celebrate a birthday. But in Trinidad and Tobago, what significance is a birthday? What significance is that day for our children? What significance is that day for our family? My dear friends, we have seen time and time again our children dying, our youths dying, and we have become numb. And I will tell you something. I remember a few years ago, Jodi Mohammed, former government representative, when he had died, we paid a visit to his grave when his grave had now been dug. And I was standing there with my producer, and we were talking about life, and we were talking about death. And we were looking at this hole that is dirt, 6 feet. And he said, could you imagine being down there? And I said to him, well, let me try. I went in, and if you know how a Muslim grave is, it's 6 feet, but halfway there's an area for you to rest board. And I started to put board one after the other while I lay down in that grave. Let me tell you something. It is a feeling that you cannot describe. It is a feeling that you don't want. It is something that you do not rush towards. And I've been saying time and time again ad nauseum, what have we become as a people? Look at what we vote in and look at what we vote out. What have we become? We vote for people to give us bad roads. We vote for people to give us no water. We vote for people to make our borders porous. And we enjoy dipping our fingers and voting for that 5 years after 5 years, 4 years after 4 years, 3 years after 3 years. And we continue to fight for the same people that have us in this position. When is it going to end? When are we going to stand up? When are we going to wake up and understand that there will come a time when one day we wake up and everything has been destroyed? Look at Just look around and you will see we have the rainbow in Trinidad and Tobago. We are standing together as one. Africans, Indians, you name it, whites standing shoulder to shoulder. But when the politics come, we are divided. We want to kill one another. We want to chop one another. From today, that ends. Every night I go to sleep. It is difficult for me. It is difficult for me because I saw what no parent should see. I saw what no parent should go through. I saw a child whose body was in tatters. I saw a child who was in pieces. I saw a child who was decayed, and that was a child whose parents loved her, who cared for her, who took care of her. And where were the politicians? Where were the people who we were fighting for? Where were they? Ordering lobster and steak, and we were paying for that. Buying brand new vehicles, $400,000 tax exemption, and you cannot even get a tablet. CDAP don't have nothing. And we support that. We drive on roads that destroy our suspension, and we vote for that, and we have to pay for that. What is it in this country that works? You tell me, which ministry in this country works? You have the Ministry of Agriculture. Poor fellas trying, but that dead. You have the Ministry of Works. The same people who they said were crooks before, doing the contracts now, many of them. And this is not about right and wrong. Both sides, not one side. And the time has come for us to say no more. We deserve better. We deserve better. My dear friends, I don't know if any of you have ever had a situation when you have been close to death. I remember a few years ago I got a panic attack and you felt as if your soul was leaving your body. It is the worst feeling to go through. Could you imagine some man, some dirty man looking at you, grabbing your neck and choking the life out of you so he can enjoy himself for 2 minutes? Imagine the hell that that child has to go through. We as parents, if a bandit were to come here now and point a gun to our child, we will put ourselves in front of that child. We will stand up and we will take the bullet. And today, we will take the proverbial bullet because nobody is going to lay a hand on our children again. Today I saw someone was drawing to my attention a gun, ammunition found, $20,000 bail. I was set up on a gun charge by police in Trinidad and Tobago, where they told me that I pull a gun on a man. I was jailed, and the charge was a lie. Imagine the witnesses said I had in my hand a silver rectangular object with a light on it. All you ever see a rectangular gun? And that is the set of donkey we have in the police service. That is the set of yayan we have. And these set of police we have to get out. I met a young man in that prison cell. 6 of us in a cell. And the cell has feces all over the ground. So you're lying down there and there is no pillow. What the officers throw for you is guardian paper. And you sleep on that. And there was a concrete toilet. And we trying to lie down because the time had come. When I look to the left of me, there's this big fella. We talking, he said, boss, they bring me in here, boy. I didn't have my driver's permit. I say, but do you have a permit? He say, yes, but they still bring me inside and the time I go stay the weekend. This young man fell asleep later that night with his head on the toilet bowl. I awoke and I went to him and said, big man, come, you take my place. And I went in a corner and I slept sitting up. And this is what we have to face. Richard is right. The judiciary is in a mess. And I applaud the Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, for at least trying. Never before in the history of this country could we say that we have a commissioner who is trying. The other one, well, he had diaphragm. He couldn't talk. Right? He had problems. You couldn't communicate with him. And this is the problem, my dear friends. What you're seeing here are people who have a common interest. And our common interest is not only our children. It is this great land called Trinidad and Tobago. I went all over the world. There's Dubai, Thailand, Japan, you name it. Imagine I going in Dubai, we stay in one of these tall buildings, and I looking down, and to the right of me, buildings galore, highways galore, and on the left, you have camel with sand and desert. These people built a city on desert. We have dirt. And when they're growing plants, the plant strips them because the plant don't even want to grow up here. This is the country we live in, where a desert can get water 365 days a year. A desert, you know. And we surrounded by Caroni River, by this river, we surrounded by water. And I hear people in Gasparilla telling me that once every 2 weeks they get water. But why? Why do you think that is so? Because we like it so. We like it so. Why do you think in Bamboo number 2, we don't have no problems with water? Because our water line hook up to Valsine. All you understand? Thank God we located. I just refer to us as Valsine number 2. Because if we weren't located there, post smoke, we pipe, we'd have to go by the Caroni River and pull water. So my dear friends, I just want to remind you of the reason that we are here. And that is, that same child, I remember my little daughter when she was young and couldn't breathe. I took my mouth and I put it on her nose and I suck out that snot from her nose because that is what parents do. That is what parents do. Parents do not allow their children to suffer. If your child is in pain and has fever, you will rush to the hospital because you don't want any harm coming to that child. You would sacrifice to wake up early in the morning and make food for that child to have so that child could eat and sustain themselves. You would educate that child to make sure that that child makes something of his or herself. And yet it is someone will come, take that child, kill that child, watch the life leave that child, and expect me as a father of 3 children to stand up and do nothing. Tonight I make a promise to you that things have to change. Tonight, I ask you, please, let us put aside whatever differences we have. The politicians, they cannot even get together on one thing. They would not vote for the opposite side, not one of them, because they are beholden to each other. While we are here fighting for our lives, them sit down collecting $50,000, $60,000 every month. We don't know where our next income is coming from. Every day, groceries going up. Every single day. Every day someone is dying. But the thing is that they will make a guest appearance and that's it. tonight we make a promise, and I want all of you to agree that you will follow us wherever we go throughout Trinidad and Tobago. If we go throughout the ends of Trinidad and Tobago, I want you to follow us. I want you to get your families to go with us. I want you to get your friends to go with us. I want you to walk with us. I want you to drive with us. If we have to fly, I want you to fly with us, but pay for your own ticket. Because we don't go down so. And in ending, I just want to say how proud I am tonight of you. Because those people who stand with me, those people who stand equally together with us, we cannot stand alone. Otherwise we would be speaking to ourselves. You are the real heroes here. You are the real people that can make a difference. And tonight, you send that message. You send that message loud and clear throughout this land that no politician is going to ride the backs of this country again. No politician is going to sit down and allow us to suffer. The laws we want passed, you're going to damn well pass it. Otherwise, we will be in front Red House and we will be like the paint on the Red House. Because tonight, the Trini Avengers rides. All the best, folks.
How you just followed that? I listen to Avanelle and I say, Philip, go home. Philip, go home. Can't follow that. I feel my guest, Stephan, you notice. Stephan Reese. Right? Not everybody's a prima donna like you. Need staff. I come to work. Sign me up. So many things fill your head when you know you have to bring a message to the people tonight. I listen to Felicia. She has a way she's laid out the space for us. Jodi Mohammed she channels everybody's big sister into the conversation. When Stephan came up here, he touched you. He brought to you again the names, and he humanized the story. That little boy, every time Stephan tells the story about that little boy who went next door and they come and they tap the woman, they cut that boy's throat just for spite, that angers me in a way you can't understand. How I wish I was there to defend that boy. How I wish. And then Avanelle, this is the second time that I say, if she had called an altar call, I come in. Avanelle, and they tell me in meetings, this, and then all of them come and talk politics. Avanelle sound like the most prolific politician in the country. I just raised my voice and I afraid to raise my voice tonight. Her voice still here all over the place. And then in Chan. I want to say something. The things the people who think they have power fear most is when the people stand together. In Chan Ishmael, I know where you are. I don't know how much days I have left in this world, but you and I will be friends for all of those days. I promise you that. The people who stand with us are my family now. We could joke to the Avengers and all this thing we're talking. Stephan come to tell me just now, he pulled me aside, he said, you know, this thing growing. Because tonight we thought we would have less people than Woodford Square. And look at you. Look at the size of the crowd. Arima gonna be madness. And then after Arima is San Fernando. But Avanelle and Candice take a day off and 24 hours with Daddy Barrett and the family, and they went to Tobago and they set up an affiliate in Tobago in the middle of this week. So while we doing this, people in Tobago calling for packages and people distributing it one time. So Candice and Avanelle deserve a round of applause for that. And the people of Tobago have sent a message to Trinidad. This is we together. We united in this. We think those who have power fear the most is when the people stand together. They don't know what to do. Every time they see a live video, every time they see one of these events, they go in meetings and they say, how are we dealing with that? Let me undo them. Let me stop it. Let me take away the fire. I hear one saying, he guaranteed by next week, women will have pepper spray. I tell him, no, he lie. Right now I tell you, lie. And they're trying this thing that they've tried before and it's not sticking. They're telling you what they think you want to hear and you're ignoring them and they fight now. Gandhi said, first they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. When we started the Candlelight Vigil, Faris Al-Rawi, the Attorney General of this country, laughed at us. He laughed and make fun of us. So they laugh at us. Last week, Friday, they war with us. They lock we out, we square. They fight we last week. Last night, Faris like a clown walking around with a candle in his hand. We done win already. We done win already. Somebody asked me, we marching against Faris. Who Faris marching against? We marching for the Attorney General to do his blasted job. Who is the Attorney General marching against? This morning, I did a video. I was a little bit angry. My priest called me and said, Philip, get down, son. We know you're vexed. We vexed too. But you see them come to make a mockery of this, of mummies and daddies and babies and grandpas and grannies and everybody. When I see them go to stunt and make a mockery and take propaganda media to broadcast it and pretend like somehow what Faris marching in have anything to do with this, I want to tell Faris, son, pat all the way down. Stay in your lane. March and Candlelight is for we. Your work is to go in the Red House and decriminalize pepper spray. The women don't want a permit. They don't come and fill out no form and take off their clothes to get license. They want to go in the corner shop and buy pepper spray. Nobody interfere with them. Go be down on the ground trying to find which way is up. That's what they want. Those who have a little more money want to buy taser and zap. So when you walk away from trying to interfere with her, you're shaking. People will see you shaking in tongue and they say, aha, you know what you do. And you get zapped. Faris, go in the cabinet and meet with Young and Useless and tell him We want a fast track. When a woman applies for her firearm user's license, she must get it in 21 days. And she must get full training how to handle and manage this weapon because its purpose is to, I think we want to turn off that crane. Whatever you're trying to do, it did. Turn it off, please. But I think it did it. Whatever you're trying to do. Hey, Chan, is you driving it? Come forward. Drogo, you got that, but I just pull in your leg. You do your thing now, man. Oh, gosh. You're unfair. The man done here sleeping already. You can see it in the face. He calling Stuart Young. I want them, Faris, go in the cabinet and say, we stunt for them, we lie to them, we fool them with decriminalizing marijuana. The lawyers in our midst tell me that the reason the PH taxi drivers fight against having their taxis regulated is that most of them is young boys and they've had their run-ins with the law, and most of their run-ins with the law have to do with smoking weed. Now, my position on dangerous drugs or any kind of drugs, I don't use them. But what I understand that the rest of the world has moved away from criminalizing marijuana, and we've talked it for 5 years in Trinidad and Tobago and we've not done it. But for us to be able to get these PH taxis regulated, the driver has to be registered. And for the driver to be registered, they need a police certificate of character. And they're not getting a police certificate of character if you don't drop the charges and expunge their records. And Faris Al-Rawi, that is your work. Go and do your job. We don't need you marching with no candle, brother. We doing that. We marching with candle. You go in the Red House and do your job. Chan and others have spoken for decades about how we license vehicles in this country. We've seen pictures for years. 2 and 3 vehicles park up side by side with the same license plate number. We know that you could go by any little graphic artist and change your license plate the way you want it to be. And that is wrong. We need a system for the issuance of license plates for a vehicle. Does the parliament work? Faris, you're wasting time marching in the street. Go in the parliament and fix that. And finally, and others have spoken about this, our criminal justice system in this country is in a mess. From arrest to charge to prosecution, we are lost at sea. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, have a difficulty trusting our own democracy. We live in fear of the criminals and the government. We are not a safe and happy people as much as we try to be, as much as the advertisers pretend we are, but we could be. We need a criminal justice system that puts responsibility for the performance of the criminal justice system on the employees of the criminal justice system. Those who are paid to do the job must be made to do the job or be fired. Couldn't get easier. If it is 24 hours in first world countries, if it is 24 hours in first world countries from arrest to charge or release, it could be 24 hours here. If it is 6 months from charge to prosecute or release in first world countries, it could be 6 months here. And a court case not supposed to take longer than 1 year in first world countries, it could be like that here. And we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, as Inshan and others have told you earlier, and I'll say this to you, you know, when you step out, like some of us have stepped out, you know you take your life in your hands, you know. There are people who tell me every day, all they just do is pray for me. That's all they do, pray for me. Whole day they pray for me. When we, the people, step out like this, we put ourselves at risk. But as Stephan said, this cannot continue. Many of our people are dying. Jan said you don't rush to that as a fact. It is too easy to lose your life in this country. And the people who take your life answer to nobody. Mr. 70 charges should have been lost in a jail cell. Not free to come outside and kill Andrea. People send me information, some of which I cannot share, because they might be part of some criminal investigation. But those things should not drag on as long as they do. We are never going to get a feeling of safety and security in this country until people who commit those kinds of crimes are arrested speedily, tried speedily, and hanged from the neck until dead. We must know, and they must know, that if you take a life, you will forfeit your life. You will lose the right to be among us. Civil society. So, as Jodi said, when mommy and daddy send children out in public transport, they must close their eyes and know they're safe. Because even though if anything happened to the people children, he could find himself at the end of the rope. That is the country we must have. And as others before me have said, it is time that we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, put aside every divider. Whoever you was vexed with yesterday, hug them up and kiss them. We focus now. People stop me and tell me, let me deal with this, let me deal with that, do this, or have a following, address this. When we finish with this ain't dragging on, you know. We say 1 month for 100,000 signatures. But I am almost certain that we've lost 100,000 signatures in the first week. But that doesn't mean we stop this. All that means is we go for the 250,000 signatures Stephan talking about since we start. Because when those petitions are ready to be served on the Parliament as the will of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we want 250,000 of you all walking with us. And we're going to start because she was the last straw, and she has become a symbol in death of what we should have been all along. One strong, united people. She has become a symbol to all of us. We will start at Andrea Barrett's house with that petition. and walk it to the Red House. And if the overhead shot in Jan just get them, cause them to have some anxiety, when they see 250,000 away in Port of Spain, the game will change. Trust me on that. Like all the others who have thanked you for putting aside your life and your family time and your leisure or your business, whatever sacrifice you made to come and join with us tonight again, I thank you sincerely. You are the love that we are going to end this culture of hate with. You are it. And you need to give yourselves a resounding round of applause for having the decency, the compassion, the love, the patriotism to stand together. I acknowledge all of the brothers and sisters who have chosen to put aside whatever differences we had to make ourselves available to serve, and I stand as a servant. Our job is to fix this country. We're going to start first by making it safe for our women to go about their business. We'll deal with the rest after. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Philip. I have to adjust my mic myself. Okay. I just want everybody here to give that man who was just speaking to us here another round of applause. Because say what you want about Philip Alexander, the Candlelight movement started on the 5th of February, the day after Andrea's body was found, when Philip lit that one candle in front of the Red House. And we swore for that week that we could not let this happen again. We swore every single night of the vigil that led up to the day of her funeral that this has to happen and that there can be no more Andreas. And we called upon this entire country who were gathered in whatever area they were gathered in, who were having motorcades, who were having vigils, who were having any sort of gathering to express their outrage and hurt and grief to a child that they didn't even know, that this couldn't stop on the day of Andrea's funeral. This had to continue because we could never have any more Andreas. We could never have any more Ashantis. We could never have any more Samis or Sean Lukes or Akil Chambers. And we came together, everyone who has addressed you tonight, to do something, to turn all those tears and grief and hurt and pain most of us felt for somebody we never even met into something tangible. And when I look at this crowd tonight and the crowds that have gathered for every single event that we have had and every vigil and every wake that we have had following Andrea's death, I cannot tell you how immensely proud I am of my fellow citizens. Because at the end of the day, that is what we are. For too long, our politicians have divided us and made us see things, or sought to make us see things based on race and based on who we vote for. But Andrea's death, which was the tipping point, which was the last that we should ever have in this country, united us. And I said, these politicians must be afraid, because they will never get away with what they have continued to get away with for too many decades. Because when they divide you on the basis of race And on the basis of who you vote for, that is when they could do the pack of crap that they're doing in the Red House. That is when they could have zero accountability. You know, I say Chaguanas is so close to my heart because when I was a child, I used to ride my bike here with my elder sister. That was in the 90s. And we used to ride from Launch Park straight to John Peter Road, sometime to by Chief, alone. And that was my childhood. And now you cannot leave your house. You cannot, as a woman, as a girl, and even as a young boy, take public transport. You can't walk in your street because it is unsafe. And for far too long, that has been normalized. That has been just how it is for years. We've been watching the murder toll go up, and on a good year, it is 400 murders, 400 families that are touched by a death that should have never happened. And we have to make sure that this country changes now, and every single person here has the responsibility to make sure that happens. One of the things that came out of Andrea's death was families coming out and speaking. Victims who we might think about when an article is published that this one son got killed and this one daughter got raped and killed. You might remember it for a day or 2 days, and then you forget. And we cannot be like that as a society. We can't let another murder just be one more, another missing little girl just be one more. And in the last month, we, all of us, all members of the Candlelight movement, have done something that I could say for myself I have never done in my life. We have spoken to the families, some of whom are forgotten, some of whom, when you hear a name, it's not going to ring a bell. But when you meet the family of somebody who has been murdered 10 years ago, and they break down and they start crying, you realize that that is a pain that they will never get over. We may forget, but they will never forget. And we had at the vigils in front of the Red House, rape victims coming and holding a mic and telling their stories, sometimes inconsolable, because they have said that this cannot continue. And no matter how traumatic those events are, and no matter how difficult it is to stand up and tell their story, that is what people have been doing. And that is something that my brother Inshan called the Andrea effect. Andrea effect, which is at the end and at the tipping point of a country that has gone far too long without doing something. And that is what we are doing here. Yesterday we were in Tobago, my sister Avanelle and I, and we spent a lot of time with Daddy Barrett and the family, Sally. And we, in Tobago, were assisted by 2 families. One is Mrs. Susan Lalchan and her husband, Joseph Lalchan. And on the 3rd of are re-traumatized. Every time there's a rape in this country, rape victims and their families are re-traumatized. And I don't think that is something that most of us could even begin to fathom. We also was assisted by a sister by the name of Latoya. And in 2018, Latoya's 16-year-old son, Noah Simmons, was murdered on his 16th birthday. And she was just there assisting, and Avanelle heard her talking to Susan and saying, you know, we have to stick together and we victims. And then when she pressed her, she told us her story. And when you realize the deep hurt and grief that these people, these citizens in our country are living with, we realize that you absolutely have to do something, because there should be no Randolph Barretts, there should be no Candace Rileys, there should be no Latoyas or Susan Lalchans. That should not happen. We have tonight with us the mother of Sean Luke. She is here tonight because, one moment. She is here tonight and she couldn't say anything on this mic because she just can't, because of how deeply traumatic the death of Sean Luke has been for her. But she is here to show her solidarity and support for the Candlelight movement because she too believes that there should be no more Sean Lukes. And she's on stage, Miss Pauline Barrett.
Night, everyone. Yeah, I'm a bit short. I just want to say this is amazing what I am seeing here in support of women and girls, men too, boys. It is amazing. This is the first one I have been to, and I am lost for words. I can't even start to talk because when I see what is happening here and what had happened with Andrea, it just dig up a whole can of worms for me because of the way how they found my son and the way how they found Andrea. So everything just came back to me. I cried for her, and it is really an emotional time. I just wanted to be here, to be with everybody and be part of it. You know, grieve with everybody. That's all. That's all. And you have an amazing guy here, Mr. Alexander. He is an amazing person. And he gave me a hug, but he didn't know he gave me some of his strength too. He did. Thanks.
Most of us here will never be able to understand the unspeakable grief that these families are living in. No one should have to go through what Pauline is going through. And that is why we are here. In Tobago, we also had the daughter of Giselle Phillips Fournier. I don't know who would remember, but Giselle was knifed to death at her preschool on George Street, ABC preschool that she operated. We have a very touching moment happening at the side of the stage. Daddy Barrett, Mr. Randolph Barrett, and Pauline Barrett, not related, unified with family in pain, unified in their grief. Only they could understand what they are feeling right now. I'm just going to pause for 2 moments so that I can just give them their time. Guys, give these 2 remarkable human beings. Come on. Okay.
Good night, people. Thanks for the support. And continue. Don't let it die down. Okay? I don't have nothing much to say. Thanks very much for being here.
I don't know if we could actually appreciate how powerful this moment is right now and how necessary this moment is, because this puts a face to the victims. This puts into perspective the pain that families go through that has been normalized for far too long. We should have done this so long ago. And I have felt that we have failed our sisters, because if we did this when Sean Luke happened, or when Akil Chambers had happened, Andrea and Ashanti and Asami and Shannon would have still been here. And we have to embrace that deep sense of regret and guilt we should all feel, because we have failed them. But we have to decide that we will move forward from it so that there can be no more. No one should have to go through the grief and the hurt that is happening right now. No one. And we have to make a decision that every time we sign this petition, we sign that we are not just putting our names to ask the Parliament to be better and to do better for us. We are going to also, every single one of us, make the decision that we will be better, because the parliamentarians could only do so much. That 5 things that we need them to do, yes, it will protect women and it will protect girls and it will protect our citizens as a whole. But every single one of us have a responsibility to every single other citizen to be better parents, to be better sisters, to be better to our sons. Because we ask the question constantly, how did we get here? How are we growing up little boys who are so broken they can do what they did to Ashanti and Asami and Andrea and Shannon and Sean Luke and Akil Chambers and the countless other victims whose names we have forgotten. And we forget sometimes that the responsibility is with every single one of us. If you know that somebody is being abused or being beaten, you have a responsibility, not just to Mako, which is what Trinidadians do. You have a responsibility to protect them, to protect everyone who cannot protect themselves. You have the responsibility as parents of the future to grow up your little boys with love and respect. Because if you keep growing up little boys who are in pain and who do not know how to translate what they feel into love and respect, then we will continue to breed monsters. And I'm so sorry to say that, because I know saying somebody's a monster and saying these little boys are monsters is a sensitive, controversial thing to say, but when you think about what was done to our little sisters, only a monster will do something like that. I cannot describe the perpetrators of the crimes against Andrea and Ashanti in any other way. And we all have a responsibility to do better. So every time you sign, every single person here and every single person watching, you have to do better. Don't just sign a piece of paper and pass the responsibility on to Parliament. Be better, every single one of us. We were also joined by the daughters of so many murdered women, the sons, the mothers, the fathers. And when you speak to them and you feel the kind of pain they are going through, you have to want better for our country. And I cannot tell you how heartwarming it is to see so many citizens coming out for something that isn't a political rally or a fete. And I make no apologies to saying that, because for once, we are coming out for something that actually matters. And we are holding those people that we have voted for, who spend their days in the parliaments that we have paid for, whose salaries that we pay every single month. We are holding them accountable. Because I heard somebody say recently, attacking what we are doing and saying it's anti-government or saying it's anti-opposition. And I asked myself, how could, in what is supposed to be a democracy, people see what we are doing as being anti-government or being anti-opposition? Is it anti-parliament for us to want better for our country? Is it too much to ask for us as women and sisters and mothers and daughters and our sons and our husbands to want to be safe? To not have to be panicking when you can't get your loved one on the phone? Do you know how many mothers, single mothers especially, cannot sleep at night because they do not know how they will protect their young daughters if somebody decides to come into their homes? And that is why we want FULs, because women should be able to protect their daughters or protect their sisters or protect themselves from being brutally raped and murdered. And that is the reality of the country we live in. And we can't forget for one moment the immense pressure that our husbands and our fathers and our sons are under. Because we talk about women so much, but at the end of the day, the sense of responsibility and helplessness our men feel in not being able to protect their women, their wives, their girlfriends, their little girl child who's sleeping in the room next to them when the night comes. You cannot forget that. You have to continue to support our husbands and our fathers and acknowledge the tremendous pressure and responsibility that they are faced with, and that is something that we do not speak about. I just want to say again, thank you so much to every single person who has come out. The sense of encouragement and support and positivity the Candlelight movement has gotten from so many different people of every single walk of life in Trinidad and Tobago. Every single corner of Trinidad. I'm learning places that I have never even known existed, and I apologize for that. But the kind of outpouring and support for this movement is something that we could never have anticipated, because people are literally tripping over themselves to sign petitions. People are literally tripping over themselves to say, how can I get petition packages so I could take to my communities and I could take to my place of work, and we have people walking the streets all over Trinidad and Tobago to get petitions signed, because you know what? They want a better, safer country, and that is something that we have never had in this country. Before we wrap up tonight, I just want to mention two of the victims who will be coming up and sharing a few words on stage. Some of these families are families that we didn't even know about until now. One of which is the family of Shadi Emmanuel. Her dad, Mr. Junior Emmanuel, is going to say a few words, and they are here because their daughter Shadi disappeared in 2018, and to date they have no closure. Let's hear it for Mr. Junior Emmanuel. Let's show him the same love that we are showing to every other family here tonight.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for the organizers for having us here tonight to share the story on my daughter, Shadi Emmanuel, who has been missing for almost 3 years now. The 27th of July will make it 3 years. You know, I am here to let you all know, well, it's almost 3 years she's been missing. I am here to let you all know that although the persons responsible for Ashanti's and Andrea not being here, the persons responsible for their disappearance will be brought to justice. I'm here to let you know that the person who the authorities know is responsible for my daughter's disappearance has not been brought to justice. I am here to let you know that he is out there somewhere in Trinidad and not being brought to justice, people. I don't want him to have another victim. I'm here to let you know that my daughter was 20 years old when she went missing. I'm here to let you know that she was my only daughter, my baby girl. These are part of my team here, my support team, a small part of them. I'm here also to let you know that a burnt corpse, a burnt skeleton was found almost 2 years ago in the Santa Flora area. I am here to let you know that we have been waiting on DNA results from that burnt corpse to this day to identify it if it's my missing daughter. And it is taking so long. I am here to let you know that we have told the authorities that we are willing to pay for those DNA results, but they have turned us down, saying that the authorities need to do this. So let me try and put this all together now. My daughter Shadi, she went to the Londonville Government School, then to the Tabakit Secondary School. At the Tabakit Secondary School, she met a guy by the name of Kyle Stevenson. They became friends. After school, after she graduated from school, we sent her to do a nursing course because she wasn't too sure what she wanted to do. My daughter, we sent her to do a private nursing course. She graduated. She did her training. She eventually settled in a job in Londonville in a private nursing home. She still remained friends with Kyle Stevenson, who was her date, also her date for graduation. Now it's during this time when she was working at the private nursing home in Londonville, you know, she apparently got to realize that, you know, she's moving forward and he is not moving forward with his life. Apparently, a lot of things we found out after my daughter went missing. On the 27th of July, my son was to take a flight to Canada, where he works. Kyle dropped him at Chaguanas. My daughter was supposed to go to Chaguanas to do some shopping and stuff, and Kyle was supposed to pick her up afterwards. The 27th of July was the last day my son saw his sister. On that day now, we tried calling her phone. She went to Chaguanas, we tried calling her, no answer. Now, if these stories is confusing you all afterwards, I have a problem with people asking me questions. It's not a problem at all because everything is just jumbled in my head. Anyway, on the day that she went missing, her friends saw her in Chaguanas, at Mid-Center Mall. They said she looked sad. There is video footage of her walking into the mall, into Mid-Center Mall, no, into Center City Mall. Video footage of her walking into the mall. There's footage of her sitting in Mid-Center Mall by herself. There's footage of her getting into a taxi in evening time in front of Center City. The police tracked that car as a private, police tracked that car to Londonville. She took a taxi to Londonville. That is where her boyfriend was living at the time. Anyway, police tracked that car to Londonville. The driver told them that she did come into the car. He dropped her close to his home, and she just walked into the street. We went to the police station in the evening time. I have to try and wind it up. I have we went to the police station in the afternoon time when we realized we weren't getting on to her. We called the police and told them, you know, our daughter, how long do we have to wait to make a missing person report? They told us as soon as we suspect something is wrong, go to the police station. We went to the Barasoo police station. We reported it. The officers there started to work. They really started to work. They got the ball moving at that time. But to this day, almost 3 years later, my daughter has not been found. About a year after she went missing, we were always looking at the news. We saw a story of a burnt corpse being found in the Santa Flora area. Her boyfriend at the time was from that area. We went to the homicide to see the pictures. When I look at the pictures, there was a little, the officers told me that there were old carpet and old vinyl and stuff over the corpse. The person burnt it, but that part was scorched, was just like a little part of her skirt that remained that I recognized. And I told them, this looking very familiar. They said, okay, Mr. Emmanuel, we will get the DNA testing. This is almost 2 years later after we were supposed to get DNA testing to move her from a missing person to move her story from a missing person to a homicide. Because they said unless they get that DNA test, she will all get the DNA results, she would always be considered a missing person. So I am here now to share her story, to keep the story alive, and praying that one day we do get that DNA test so we would know for sure that those bones that are probably in forensics in Port of Spain, in a freezer somewhere, that we can get confirmation that that is my daughter, and we can get justice for her disappearance. Because we prayed for answers. People, we prayed for answers. We got answers to what may have happened to her, that her relationship was getting abusive. She wanted to get out of it. Apparently that is what she went to do that afternoon. She went to her boyfriend to end the relationship, and she disappeared after that. So we just want justice. We prayed for answers. We got answers afterward. Answers just keep coming to us. We just prayed, and now we are praying for justice for our missing daughter. And we know eventually we would get justice for our missing daughter. As I said, anybody you have any questions afterwards, not a problem for me to answer any questions you may have. If you come across a story on Facebook, please share it, because we want to keep our story alive until we get justice for our missing daughter, Shadi Emmanuel. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Okay, paging Jodi Mohammed, Inshan Ishmael, and Stephan Reese. If you could meet us stage right, please. Jodi Mohammed, Inshan Ishmael, and Stephan Reese. Meet us stage right.
And tonight, just to wrap up, our last speaker is someone who has unspeakable courage. She is a victim that came forward when we had our vigil, and she's here to tell her story in front of everyone tonight. Amrita.
Hi, good night everyone. I'll try to be brief because I know we're coming on to the end. Basically, by the age of 10, I had already been held at gunpoint twice. By the age of 18, I was sexually assaulted to the point where I couldn't use the bathroom for days. Had there been a sex offenders registry, it would have been impossible for what happened to me to have ever occurred. This happened 6 years ago in February. 6 years later, there is still no sex offenders registry. It is frustrating. I am drained on some days. I'm here to tell you from personal experience how traumatic it has been. I had PTSD. I suffered from severe panic attacks. I would hyperventilate. I would pass out. No one knows the trauma that you live with after an ordeal. it affects everybody in different ways. I was victim blamed. My parents blamed themselves. I blamed myself. I was made to feel like something was wrong with me, like my self-worth wasn't there anymore because this happened to me. I was even advised not to tell anyone that this had happened because somehow it made me less of a person. I have done a lot of healing. I had a support system that I am eternally grateful for. It was indeed necessary to have support at the time, but I had to realize that somebody can't always be there to hold my hand, because at the end of the day, when everyone goes home and everyone goes to sleep, it's just me and my thoughts, and I have to be strong enough to deal with that. I know that there's a lot of people in the crowd, and I'm pretty sure that we have other victims among us, and I just want you to know that I hear you, and I see you, and I know firsthand what you're going through. Please look into ways to self-soothe, to cope, because at the end of the day, all you really have is yourself. I am so proud because when I spoke in front of the Red House, I asked you all not to do the typical Trini thing and forget about this in a week. And a month later, we're still here and we're still doing this, and I hope that we see this through the end. I hope that this in itself shows us that if we stand together and we unite, we could overcome anything. We have the power, we have the wisdom, the knowledge, we have everything that we need to be capable enough to get through everything. We have the power to change what we want to change. It is amazing to see us stand together for something other than cricket and carnival. I can't express how much this touched me personally. I went door to door today getting signatures from places around my area. And at my gym, there was even a line for people that wanted to sign. And I felt so overjoyed, overwhelmed. Some people are even saying, like, why is it being done for Andrea? It's not being done for Andrea. It's being done for every woman, every mother, every child, every son. It affects everybody on such a big level, and it saddens me that certain people can't see the bigger picture. It's not just for one person. And today that line of people included Venezuelans, Africans, Indians, Dogas. I was so overjoyed. Like, I wish you all could have been there to see it. To end, I have had other experiences where I have been in situations where so-called friends took advantage, not to the extent of sexual assault, but please teach your sons, teach your brothers, your husbands, your boyfriends, please teach them what consent is. For some reason, sex is a taboo topic in Trinidad and Tobago and in the Caribbean, but we need to have better sex education. We need to have talks about consent, and we need to have talks about what is okay and what isn't. Monitor your children, monitor what you do, because children are a window of a home. We may be doing something that we don't even know, but ask yourself, how have you enabled this behavior? What have you let slide to enable this behavior and encourage it to happen? At the end of the day, change starts with you, right? Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope that it inspires somebody to reach out and sign the petition, to go door to door in your neighborhood, to carry it to work, to take it to your friends. Let's do this thing together. Have a good night, and everybody please reach home safe.
Paging Stephan and Inchan and Philip. Should I just I'm not sure if we can all appreciate how powerful what happened tonight was. I just want to say thank you so much for your tremendous outpouring of love and support for this movement. And that is what it is, an outpouring of love, support and unity, so that as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, we can have a better country. Thank you so much for everyone who attended here tonight. everyone who could not be here physically but who's watching us live, and every single person who's doing what they can to ensure that this national petition is a success. It truly is overwhelming how many of our citizens want a better country. Thank you.
All right, guys, before you disperse, I just want to remind you that for those who came to collect petitions, you can't get them by the food courts entrance there that says Barakah Food Courts. You can go and get your petition, sign for them, take them to your homes, to your community. Also, you can return your petitions there as well. Those who want Candlelight t-shirts, you can also get them there. Also reminding you, next week, Friday, we are in Arima. Where is the name of the place?
10-11 Hollis Avenue.
Hollis Avenue.
Across the bus terminus.
Across the bus terminus. All right, so Hollis Avenue, across from the bus terminus, next week, Friday, we're in Arima. Somebody messaged and asked when we're going to South. I believe it's the week after that. Thank you so very much for coming, and we will see you at the next event. Have a good night. Oh, and again, thank you so much to Inshan for loaning us these grounds, and thank you for everybody who has been coming forward with venues for us to come to. Definitely send us your information, and as much as possible, we will try to make it there. Again, have a good night and reach home safely.